As we all live longer, age really is just a number. But retirement is so much more than one. Your Metro Detroit Edward Jones financial advisors want to know what you want out of your retirement, so we can help get you there. Call us toll-free at 866-975-8655. Again, that's 866-975-8655 to schedule an appointment. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hello, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. I am Jer Stays, and joining me on the line is
Fletcher Sharpe.
It is good to talk to you, sir, although we spoke on Saturday at an event in front of a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, they made me feel really important. They gave me a microphone and let me ask questions. And thankfully, after slamming a cocktail, I didn't embarrass myself. So I got to build small.
It was definitely fun to go to the season ticket holders meeting at the Rooster Tail. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the DCFC section of the show. But before we get into that, we just need to spend a few minutes on the Detroit Red Wings. As we're recording this, we are about to embark on a couple of very important games against the Ottawa Senators that if the Wings can pull off at least one, it would greatly improve their playoff chances. And Fletcher, for me, I'm just excited to see this team back in the playoff hunt. This is like real contention to the point where we're going to have to phone a friend for an episode coming up.
Yeah, I remember growing up, the Red Wings were really, really great, annoyingly great. All of my Red Wings friends were like, the Wings are this and the Wings are that, and we're the best. So I'm not even going to lie. And I know people might put bags of poop on my porch, but there was a little bit of schadenfreude the first year that they did not make the playoffs. I was like, yeah, now you guys can calm down. And then they just didn't go back. And I was like, wow, I feel kind of bad now.
Well, producer Cheyenne is from Denver, so she's an Avs fan. I'm not even sure why we let her in the studio, but...
Oh, well, then I'm not the worst person then.
Nope, the poop's going on her porch, Fletcher.
People remember my friend AK, who's a very, very big hockey guy. As much as I am towards soccer and sports like that, he's very much into hockey. I know he's played for a while. He played for the Detroit Dragons. So he might see if he can come by and give us some knowledge about what's happening with the Red Wings so we don't go spin ourselves out.
One thing I want to ask you as a general question, though, there is talk as the trade deadline is approaching strategically in a greater sense. Do you think that Yzerman should hold him or make a deal, in a greater sense?
If he really, truly thinks they can make the playoffs, I think you hold on to your players. If he does not, then whatever value you can get to help improve yourself for the draft and for the future, you do it. And if you happen to make the playoffs in spite of that, cool. I know the Yzer plan, everyone's really sold behind it. Some people a bit less than before. But yeah, that's just me. I think if you really, really think you can make it, you just better do it. Because if you don't make the playoffs and you hold on to your assets, then people will be doubly upset at you.
Let's move on to Detroit City FC because we've got a lot to talk about. First off, I want to talk about this event that we were at on Saturday at the Rooster Tail. It was great to see some of the players not in uniform. Well, we did see the kit reveal too. So you know what? Let's start with the kit. Let's talk about the kit, even though that was the last part of the night. What do you think of the new kits, Fletcher?
The first time I saw the away kit, my response was for the kids who listen to the show, what are those?
There was a seafoam green that I recognized right away, but a lot of people were confused.
It threw me off entirely because I understand that away kits are supposed to be different than the home, add a little bit of flavor, but I didn't recognize the seafoam as the city of Detroit's official color. If you look at the spirit of Detroit, you look at a lot of things.
The buses, for instance, it matches the buses.
Then I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. That's actually really, really cool. It shows that they're really trying to say, we are happy to be here. We want to show everyone that we are from Detroit. This is really us. There's no some other random color that doesn't make sense. So I'm glad that the roaring applause drowned out my reaction because had no one said anything and all they heard was that, I think I would have probably jumped in the river.
The home kits are pretty standard. There isn't that much of a change in my mind. The subtle stripes went horizontal instead of the sash action that went before. As to the away kit, I would have preferred them to go all the way. Make that thing that mint green or whatever. I would have been fine with it also as a third kit because I know a lot of teams like to do like a super fun third kit. As a third, I'd love to see maybe like the smoke kit come back or something like that. That's still one of my favorites.
They are nice. I know the last time that DCFC went with hoops, the horizontal stripes, the hoop kit, they won some titles. So I know a lot of people are like, that's great to see. We're back to hoops. Maybe we're back to bringing trophies home. Who knows? It's going to be a long year, very much so. I know that event, people were very excited. The players were excited. Yeah, there was just a bunch of energy, just energy everywhere.
Yeah, we moderated a panel on the women's club, which I was very glad to do, along with Nolan Bianchi from the Detroit News. What were a couple of takeaways from that panel?
As expected, Dave Dwayhe, the new coach, who's also one of the owners, coaches at Liggett, teacher at Liggett, all-around great guy. If you don't like Dave, I think there's something really wrong with you because he's one of the nicest people ever. We'll get into that a different day. But as expected, he's like, we're going to try to see the players we bring in. We're going to try to form our tactics around that rather than just what he's done in the past. Obviously, he has something in mind he wants to do, but you can't really set a tactic and then not have the players for it because you'll always lose at that point. He said he'll be leaning on Trevor for a little bit of advice when he can. He has 2 player coaches, Elisa Barron and Danny Evans, who will be playing and also coaching. Danny a bit more coaching than playing. But still, nonetheless, the ability to be there and help adds an extra layer because, if you can't hear the coach yelling from the sideline, you'll definitely hear your teammate who's also a coach yelling at you right in front of you. Everyone seems excited. Obviously, there has not been really many names released with the women's team.
Well, we're still early yet, right?
A little bit. It's also kind of harder. I know people are more expecting, I want names now. Seeing as this team is made up of mainly college and, just out of college players, unlike the professional ranks where players can cycle in whenever, players have to be released from their school for the summer in order to play. So, you still have to get schools to clear players to come play, kind of like the old MPSL days. So you can't just say, we want this player now, because what if the player's school is like, no. I'm expecting kind of a really similar roster. I know Dave is I know his tactics are not going to be the same as what I've watched at Liggett and other places, but I know he likes to play a patient game, diamond either in the midfield or in the defense. Short passes to kind of get the ball out wide, get it up there, and kind of move it towards the middle slowly as opposed to just bombing it down the field like the men do. So, yeah, I'm excited to watch them play this year.
Another thing is that there's going to be some opportunities on Saturdays to watch the women play, which I think is a pretty great thing. In fact, one of them is going to be a longtime rival match with Ann Arbor FC as well.
Yeah, AFC Ann Arbor is going to bring back the old MPSL rivalry days of, man, we got to schlep up to Ann Arbor, we're going to cut down the trees, or they got to come down here and they're going to stamp out LaRue. It brings back those days that everyone kind of fell in love with both clubs. If people remember, it's the biggest Tyrone Mondi with the left foot was against AFC Ann Arbor at Keyworth. So hoping to create more memories like that this year because I think they're going to have a really good team. Ann Arbor will, as will, Midwest United, Flint City, AFC. There are going to be a lot of really good teams there. So I think if Dave gets them started right, they should be able to get out of this regular season, get into the playoffs.
100%, 100%. Any takeaways from the event itself? It was good to see the players going. Honestly, it was really good to see Devin Amu-Mensah mobile. I mean, I know it's going to still be a while, but it's just reassuring to see him up and about,
Yeah, getting to talk to Devin. I know a lot of people did a double take because they were like, clones. But no, we are very different. He is much taller than me, much more broad-shouldered than I am. I know that, but you see someone in person again, you're like, yeah, this guy lifts. But talking to him, I know he's eager to get back out there. I know he's training with the team. I don't want to give away too much, but he's saying May. May is when they're circling for him to get back and play, which is great considering that, he tore an ACL almost a year ago. A lot of people aren't back to playing contact sports in a year. Some people, they are different people all throughout. I know he will try to brace it in practice. He's like, if I cannot play in a game without a brace, I probably won't be playing, which is fair. I know for the event itself, I remember when it first started and they first started having kit reveals, it was at the Magic Stick right off Woodward. Not that the Magic is a bad venue, but comparatively to the Rooster Tail.
I felt like I was walking up to a 007 set when I parked.
Yeah. People before at the Magic Stick, it's like, oh, we're going to have a prom type setting. We're going to dress up all nice and everything. And it's like, yeah, sure. Whatever, man. Watch out for, people trying to bowl or something. Now it's like you have to dress up because it's the Rooster Tail. You cannot show up in a stained hoodie and, some flip-flops. They'll be like, excuse me, sir, you're at the wrong event. Can you please leave? So to see the glow up from that over the years, it's great. It shows that, they're about growth in that regard. And that's a really great thing to see. Much bigger venue to hold much more people who are not sitting on top of each other. Yeah, just all around nice event. to start the season. And now you hope that that nice event can push the team forward into playing well, especially since earlier that day they had a friendly against Michigan State, winning 2-0 with Skage Simonson scoring 2 goals. Both of them just him being big and scoring goals like big guys are supposed to.
I appreciate that. That's something we need. I will mention really quick that announced just as we were recording this that there will be a closed-door friendly March 1st at 2 p.m. against Western Michigan University. Again, closed door. You know, as we are on the road to playing San Diego Loyal SC, what is Trevor going to be doing in this last friendly, really, before we go to California?
He's probably just going to be evaluating the last few trialists before like they legit are signed and like made a part of the roster. Probably going to come out with a starting lineup that you'll see for the first game. Probably let them play for a little bit. Probably most of the first half, maybe the entire first half. Then he's going to go full shift and let everyone else who's looking for playing time, looking to prove themselves, let them get in and play and contribute to see who's going to be playing where, who's going to be playing how much, and who's going to even be here than the following week. So it's really more of a tune-up. You know, it's like the last preseason game for any sport. You want your players to get out there and, you know, get their feet wet, but you don't want them to go out there and get hurt. He's going to try his best to keep it chill, but like, you know, an actual event, like real running, not just people jogging around hoping that they do something.
Right, especially for those players on the bubble. And those players know who they are. We do have a little bit more clarity around the trialists, I think. One being, and it's not official, but, you know, who else is going to play goalkeeper but Ryan Shello? And he was at that event, and I feel like that's a pretty big sign that he's going to be on board. On top of that, I mean, what are you going to do? Stick Michael Bryant in goal?
I mean, I'll go in net. You don't really have to pay me anything, but also, like, if Nate's unable to play, I will mysteriously get hurt. Like, oh, no, Nate. My knee's acting up. I don't think I can get out there. Sorry. Oh, man.
You're just in it for the jersey. You just want the Sharpe jersey on the back, don't you?
It's not going to be my name. If it is, it's going to be my first name because I just need to be different.
But in all seriousness, I've always liked him, and I'm glad to see that, again, it's not announced, but I feel like when you're doing the kit reveal, when you're the guy, that sends a pretty strong signal that he's going to be with the team.
Yeah, the last 2 trialists besides Shello are Will Perkins, who played in the friendly against Michigan State, where he just graduated from, and looking that he's probably going to make the team as a wing back on the left or the right. Still, we don't know yet. And Vincenzo Candela, who joined from the Richmond Kickers in the USL League One. Again, trialist, but he has been around the USL for a minute. Really solid player, plays in the midfield, can play attacking, can play central, can play defensive. He's best in the central. He was at the event dressed up, and I feel like it'd be really cruel to invite someone to your kickoff event and be like, hey, guess what? You're not actually on the team. I know pro sports are cruel, but I don't think they're that cruel. You could probably chalk it off to him being on the roster as well.
Yeah, one name that I think we need to discuss because of the reaction online is one from Detroit City FC history and now going to be truly history, Jean-Claude Lawson. It does not look like he's going to be part of this team. And there was a lot of feelings around it. I mean, one person even saying like he deserves to be there. And I'm kind of like, this is kind of indicative of the shift, I think, between being a semi-pro or amateur team versus a pro team. And I always had my doubts whether or not he could cut it in the USLC format. You know, it's a different level of play. I understand the emotional attachment, but we're a pro team now. And no, this is not MLS, but we have to think about who's going to fit with these rosters because every spot is valuable.
Yeah, that's something that bothers me a lot, especially because if Jean-Claude Lawson, who I think he's a great guy, I think he's a great teammate, if he's supposed to be on the roster, if he deserves to be on the roster, the international spots in this league, there's 7 of them. Who are you taking off the roster? Who is now no longer on the roster to make room for Jean-Claude Lawson? Because Stephen Carroll got married recently, so he's now an American citizen. You got Lei Diop, citizen of Senegal, Cy Goddard, England/Japan, Yazid Matthews of South Africa, Adrian Bilhart of Germany, Skage of Norway, Ben Morris of England, and I think there's one more name I'm forgetting. But these are all international. So all those players, who's come off the roster to make room for him? Like, think of that question the next time you want to say that. Because, like, unlike the NPSL, where there really isn't any sort of international rules, or NISA, no really international rules except for just getting the clearance. Here, they have a certain amount of slots. Now, you can trade away for international slots. You can happily do that. At the end of the year, they're going to reset back to 7, but you can trade for some if you want some. But right now, who's coming off this roster to make room for Jean-Claude?
Do you think he has a higher chance of making the roster if he wasn't international?
Yes, because you could then just say, well, we have a guy here. He can make some room. But having international slots is very important because we know Trevor has a history with a bunch of teams across the pond. You kind of really want the chance to bring in someone, from England or, say, Germany or et cetera, like someone from a club he's been to before, someone he might know from a different club. Heck, you could leave a roster spot open, and you could do something like how Oakland Roots did last year, and they got a loan in from Venezia, and the guy ended up being one of the best scorers in the league. So you leave that chance open by having that roster slot there. But if you take up that roster slot with someone who's probably not going to play very much, it hurts you doubly because not just is it someone not playing, it's an international spot that now you can't get rid of. And you had to do all the clearance to get this guy here to finally just let him sit there and do nothing. Like all the international players I read off that list, they're all going to contribute in some way a bit more than just being there. The trialist cannot be an international player who's just not going to do much because the team doesn't want him out there in the field there right now. And that's not fair to Jean-Claude. It's not fair to the team. We would have loved for it to come together. Just it would have been a very nice story to have. But it's not going to happen. You kind of got to move forward at this point.
Yeah, Jimmy Filerman's not on the list either. He's out.
He broke his leg. So the fact that he's even like borderline is good for him. But, he's coming off a broken leg. He's going to be out for a minute. He's working himself back into being, consistent. But broken leg's a broken leg. Like, it's not great.
Let's talk about the open secret. The open secret is that there's a lot of questions about this offense. I'm not as negative as some folks, but there are open questions. And I think that a lot of long-term fans are not going to be very happy unless they see some big scoring in these first few games. They're going to be like, see, you should have had this guy. But I mean, if you trust Trevor, you trust Trevor, right? So like, that's what I don't understand. It's like, do we trust Trevor when we feel like it? Or do we trust Trevor and know that he's really good at what he does?
I mean, to me, that lets it be known that DCFC has like grown in the sense of like a team. Because before it was just whatever this team says goes. If they say something, we do it, doesn't matter. And now it's like, hey, I disagree with what they're doing here. I disagree with. Cool, that means it's growing. It means that now you've reached a point of like, I love this thing so much that I actually have some real opinions that are not just spit from somebody else. I have my own, they splinter off into something else here. And like, I think that's great. It shows that the team is growing in the sense of like, like when you have a little kid and the kid does everything you want to do because it wants to like love its parent. And then all of a sudden it turns into a teenager and it's like, get out of my room, mom. This is that moment right here. It's, I disagree with you. I think you're running it wrong. I'm slamming my door.
Part of the fun is, Jared Goff, Matt Stafford, all that stuff, right? Like that's the backbone of sports talk. And I'm glad to see us at the point where we can have these disagreements, frankly.
People generally care about the club, but generally also have their own opinions about how it's being run. And that's fine because you're not supposed to agree with your front office all the time.
No.
But I don't think that right now is the time to be doing that. I think maybe let's get 10, 12 games in and see how they're sitting there.
100%. There's something called the Fan Cost Index, which talks about what it costs for a family of four to go to a major sporting event, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, whatever. And I went ahead and ran some numbers based on last year and this year's ticket prices. And I found that, Detroit City FC is going to be a heck of a value for people to go to for a family of four. So MLS, according to The Athletic, the average Major League Soccer game costs over $300 for a family of four. And that's going to include a couple of beers, a couple of scarves for the kids, 4 hot dogs, pops for everybody, tickets, parking, the whole 9 yards. Now, you go to DCFC, it's less than 190. I ran the numbers. It's right around 188, depending how you cut it, because the food's a little different. At Keyworth 1, with that larger FCI index, they talk about hot dogs. Well, hot dogs at Keyworth are kielbasa. Right, because it has to be better at DCFC, and it is, because kielbasa versus hot dog is not even a battle in my mind. I'm going kielbasa every time. But it's like a really good value. In fact, it's a better value than the Major League Baseball average at $256. And I've seen so much stuff since the last time we talked about people being like, MLS, da-da-da. You know what? Enjoy the team you have. It is a great value. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. The first home game is 3 matches in, so it is coming up really quick. To me, it's like, I don't miss any of that. I've been to MLS games, and yeah, it is what it is. But you have a team here that is absolutely fun to watch. It's a hell of a time at Keyworth every time. And you know what? You're not going to break your bank, which last time I checked, is pretty important in Metro Detroit.
Yeah, shouts out to Schroeder for the kielbasa. And also my favorite, the beignet
I knew it. I knew it.
It stinks because, you get one and then you end up looking like, a cocaine bear extra, but they're delicious.
Question. Since Dumpster Bear is white, could you tell if he was Cocaine Bear?
He's still got his shirt, so yeah.
Okay, if it goes all the way down, all right.
Food-wise, I think one of the best venues in the Midwest. I can't say for the entire country, but I have been to other venues in the Midwest. I've been to Chicago Fire games, been to FC Cincinnati games, I've been to NPSL, NISA games, etc., and I think it's one of the best price range. I know if you look at Footy Scran online on Twitter and you're like, oh, the prices are high. That's because you're comparing it to like England, where it's like literally beans on toast for everything. So it really can't.
You mean you don't want any spotted dick?
I definitely do not. No, thank you. I don't want the type of pudding that they have, please. I think the food is great. I'm not going to come over and say it's the best thing in the world, but I think for a sporting event,
stands up against everything in Detroit. Everything.
For the bang for your buck, definitely. If you want to talk about, I want to wait for the MLS team to show up. Like, you have a decent team here. Are they the best team in the world? No, but they'll be better here than they will in the MLS. And again, to your point about the food, it's cheaper food. If they move up, food's going to be way more expensive now. You won't get the home-cooked touch of Hamtramck. You won't get Schroedick. You won't get Amici's Pizza. You won't get whatever. You'll get some really weird, like, Pizza Hut, like, reheated pizza that is going to cost you maybe the soul of your first child, when you could enjoy it like an actual really great slice from like right down the street.
Okay, so I'm an old school baseball fan. And the thing that I love about Keyworth is that it reminds me of baseball when I was younger. And it reminds me of thinking about how sports used to be before everything. Now, I understand everyone's got to make money. And I don't complain about ticket prices, anything like that. I understand people have different perspectives. Look, the team needs money. I'm down with it. Like, this is a great experience. So whatever. But, going to a place like Keyworth, having that neighborhood thing, like there's nothing like that in Metro Detroit. Keyworth is Detroit's Wrigley. Tiger Stadium is long gone. If you're not old enough to have gone to Tiger Stadium, that was a magical venue. Keyworth is a magical venue. And like being in the community, doing all those things, like that is what like the connection with community sports and everything is like supposed to be. And to me, you cannot replicate that anywhere else in America. And I think in a lot of ways, like the USLC is a great home for it. Like, I'm sure this season we're going to have our criticisms, but honestly, like I like the USLC. I like the media people that I've gotten to meet over the last year. I enjoyed my trip to Memphis. I know that's heresy to say, but like there is a connection and a specialness to this that I really think people should give it a try.
I understand why, because this country's very much bigger is better. We got to move up. Top league is better than whatever. And to some degree, that's true in some parts. But like, if you have something of yours, why would you give it away to then hope for something else in return when you could just enjoy what you have right now?
Yeah, it's a magical time. And I'm going to file this whole segment under the yearly answer to listeners, why isn't it MLS? Because that is the number one question in our inbox, always. Why isn't it MLS? Well, you know what? It doesn't need to be MLS. And it's a good time, and it'll be good soccer. Yeah, you know what? We're going to have fun with the Open Cup. We have an excellent season ahead of us of 34 regular games. We're going to have a ton of fun at Keyworth. And honestly, I'm getting hyped about it. And, I'm not going to make apologies for the product. It's going to be a good time wherever we land. So leading with that, let's get into, we don't have all the X's and O's, of course, but San Diego Loyal SC is coming way sooner than you would think. And there are a lot of local connections, Fletcher, with San Diego. I was so surprised when you're telling me this off air.
Yeah, they have a bunch of players who have either played in Michigan, from Michigan, or coached in Michigan. Starting off, Elliot Collier, forward, 27 years old, spent a year for Michigan Bucks, now Flint City Bucks. Next, we have Nick Moon, fullback, wingback from Wisconsin, but played for Lansing Ignite. Was a fan favorite because he just had such a devil may care attitude. He just put his nose in every single thing. Did not care if he fouled you. We have Jackson Kansanzu, who is from Tanzania. He joined last year from AFC Ann Arbor. If he's playing for AFC Ann Arbor, it means that he knows exactly what to be doing for defense because all they do is produce high-level center backs. Next, we have big fan favorite. Everyone loved him in Lansing. For Lansing United and Lansing Ignite. Tumi Moshobane, midfield, attacking midfield. Really creative on the ball. Really fun to be around as well. We also have Grant Stoneman, who went to Wisconsin and then Loyola in Chicago. Played for Lansing United, Michigan Bucks, and Lansing Ignite. Very big guy, stout. will definitely tackle you and you'll feel it. We also have Ebenezer Akon, who played for Lansing United in 2018. Really, really good for them at the Milk Cup against AFC Ann Arbor. And finally, we have Nate Miller, the head coach, who coached at Spring Arbor, then Lansing United, then Lansing Ignite, and then he followed a lot of his players out to San Diego, or conversely, they followed him out to San Diego when he coached underneath Landon Donovan, who stepped down last year finally as coach, or stepped up to a different executive position to allow Nate Miller to take over. There'll be a lot of familiar faces soon up against Detroit City FC when San Diego plays against them. Some players who wanted to play for Detroit, a lot of players who wanted to beat the stuffing out of Detroit. So this is a good chance for them to exact some year-long revenge.
We'll look at it a little bit closer next week, but San Diego did finish second in a competitive West. Did they really hold their shape? What kind of match is this going to be for LaRouche?
San Diego is getting rid of some players as well. I know they recently let go of Thomas Amang, who scored 11 goals for them last year. And I know a lot of San Diego Loyal fans were surprised. They were like, this guy? That's our guy. Like, why are you getting rid of him? And I know a lot of Detroit City fans were like, 11 goal scorers, bring him in. Let's get him on the team. And it doesn't really work like that. They're going to be a very different team. Again, they have a different head coach in Nate Miller versus Landon Donovan, who probably runs things pretty similar, but not exactly the same. I'm expecting this to be a pretty good contested match. I know they have a decent offense. I know they lost a few players who contributed. Kind of like an iron sharpens iron thing where they have their offense against Detroit's league-wide one of the best defenses. So you might not see like a 3-4, 4-4, 2-4 game. You might see maybe a 1-0, 2-1, 1-1 type of match. Very stressful for the fans, but very enjoyable if you're a neutral fan.
Yeah, we'll look at it more as we get a little bit closer. That will be Saturday, March 11th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And to quickly mention, it will be on ESPN Plus because they did ink a 1-year deal around that. Because I don't think we mentioned that, Fletcher, that they inked a 1-year deal, which I think is a good thing for the fans.
Made a lot of people very nervous when they saw them release that YouTube deal where they're like, we're going to put all of our stuff in one channel. People were like, oh no, I'm going to have to watch this on my laptop. So to get them back on ESPN Plus is great, especially because now you can say, we'll even watch the team play on ESPN. You can go to ESPN Plus, go to ESPN here and watch it there. People who are like, I can't even watch them play normally. Yes, you can, because they're on ESPN.
All right, well, Fletcher Sharpe, it is so good to talk to you. We've got a lot to unpack in the coming weeks. As I said, San Diego will be on Saturday the 11th. El Paso, then, as this Western swing continues, will be on the 18th. And then home against Indy 11 on March 25th. Mark your calendars at Keyworth, and we will be there. I cannot wait to get back on the pitch, sir.
Yeah, it's going to be a real fun home season. 17 home games, so you guys will be seeing us at least 17 times there. Me chewing on my thumbnail behind the net, hoping that we don't get hit with a errant ball.
Well, thank you so much for listening. I am Jer Stays.
And I'm Fletcher Sharpe.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.